Before we follow our Daf Yomi, since several people ask questions after the shiur, emails, etc., some words of introduction to the continuation of this discussion. In Judaism, we have two components when it's come to the end of life. One, it's called the principle of kvod hamet. We're showing a respect, treatment to the deceased. And another component, it's called kvod hachai. We have a special consideration for the feelings of the living, those surviving relatives. Now, we explained, following halakha, following Jewish law, the requirement is to bury as soon as possible. The wishes in our rabbinic writings is the idea it should not extend it more than 24 hours after the passing. And that's part of the first component that we said, kvod hamet, respect for the deceased. The Torah said in the book of Deuteronomy that we should not leave the body unburied for extended more than absolute needed. It's considering a disrespectful act to the deceased. And when Jewish law asks us, require us to go ahead and to bury on earth, it's not just the idea of treatment for the dead, it's also for the living. That's the whole notion of our opposition for cremation. Our intent is to show the proper respect to the dead, to give a chance for the living to visit, as I have numerous of discussion with people explaining to them that even you don't care and you don't really want to be cremated. Maybe the future generation wants to visit a site, etc. So is the idea that we came from earth and returned to the earth that we, man, created. Now, there is a certain act of preparation involved with this. Preparation before passing, and then the famous first meal that to be eaten following the funeral. It's again, that's the idea of kvod hachai, the respect for the living. So if you leave it for them, the mourners may neglect to prepare food for themselves, and therefore is damaging their health. So we ask to go ahead and during that period of time, the first stage Sudat Arvara'ah, and then during the 7 days period, which we have to go out of our way for kvod hachai, to show them the respect, to help them properly. So here we are with one of the components in this matter, which is the idea of kriya. And we explained that part of the acting in kriya is to tear the garments. To be involved with tearing the garments, it's that the idea that we act as mourners. We explained in the previous session that there are two stages. The first stage is the 7 immediate family that Torah requires, and then they have the second stage, which is son of the son, or according to Tosfot, daughter of the daughter. So the Gemara here elaborate on the idea of kriya, of tearing the garments. How far can a person do, and what's the proper decorum? So where we are, as we said, we are at the very bottom of page 20b. It's actually 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Ameimar shachiv lebarbrei kara ilavei. So here we talk about one of the rabbis, whose name is Ameimar. His son of the son, his grandson, passed. So when a death occurs, Jewish law requires that a garment be rent as a sign of mourning. It's referred to, which we said, as a kri'ah, meaning tearing the garment. So here, it's not day one of the 7, it's the second stage. Now, he tore his garment, and Atabrei, when the father of the deceased came in, kara be'apei, so now it's a second time. So why is a second time? That the idea is, the Ramban explains, that part of that is you do it bifnei hakarov, you do it on the face of the mourner. And here, since he made a mistake, he didn't do it at the front of his son, so therefore the Ramban explained, he repeats it again. They said, Idkar demiyushav kara, kam v'kara me'umad. Then he realized that when he tore his garment, he was sitting, so he stood up and said. The idea is, although there are exceptions, the rending of a garment generally takes place immediately before the service begins. It's usually performed by the rabbis, etc. That's why we said Baruch Dayan Haemet, blessed are God who is a true judge. But here you see that even all members of the family, which is the parents, the children, the sibling, the spouse, required to rend the garments, including the children above bar bat mitzvah age. Here it's the next stage, which is the father of the father. So he needs to do it at the face of his son, and need to do it while he's standing. What's the sources? So the sources are, Amar le Rav Ashela Meimar Kri'ad Me'umad Benalan. How do you know that you have to do while standing? So again, the individual may tear his or her own garment, or another individual, which is either the rabbi or someone there, may make it the tear, right? But here he did it while he sits, so he needs to do it again. Third time was standing. The source is the Chti, because it's written in the book of Job, the first chapter, when he heard about the loss of his sons and daughters. Vayakar miYov vayikra et meilo, and Job arose and he rent his garment, his coat. Page 21, just a vignette on that. The source of that is in the book of Genesis, in Bereshit, chapter 37, when a famous biblical Jacob heard that his son Joseph is gone. So when Jacob learned that his son Joseph was killed, Jacob immediately tore his garment. You see later David, when he heard about King Saul and Jonathan. And then you see in the book of Job the title idea of tearing his garment when he heard the death of his children. So here the Talmud describes the basis of the Kriya, tearing garments idea, to the incident described in the book of Vayikra, in Leviticus chapter 10, where Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aharon, met, and they have an ultimately death because they brought an unauthorized sacrifice to the altar. So Moshe Rabbeinu told Aharon and Elazar and Itamar, the other two survivor sons, they said, do not bare your hands, do not rend your clothes. So via negativa, you learn this, that Nadav and Avihu were unworthy of being mourned, and hence the relatives were not rent garments in mourning for them. So you see here an implication that that relatives in general are obligated to mourn the loss of relatives by rending the garments. So Ela me'ata, so the Gemara said, so Rav Ashi challenged him and he said, however, when you talk about the Levirate marriage, the Torah said in Devarim, in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 25, ועמד ואמר לו חפצתי לקחתה, and he stand and he said, I do not wish to take her. So that's in the chalitza, in the Levirate situation, that he rejected her. Hachename, so you can say here that he has to be while standing. Ve'amad, ve'atanya ben yoshev ben omed ben muter. So that chalitza makes no difference in his position, not necessarily standing. Amar Leah, Mimar respond, hatam lo chtiv vayamod v'yomar. It's written ve'amad ve'amar. Ha'chaktiv vayakom vayikra. So it means that you standing from the position of sitting. אמר רבי בר חמא, מניין לקריאה שמומד, שנאמר ויקום איוב ויקרא. So you see a soul from the book of Job that the persons need to stand while it turns clothed. So the Gemara said, Dilma milta yeterata udeavad. So maybe Job, because he was in such a great agony, he went an extra mile. But you do not have the obligation to do it while standing. Dilotei ma'achi, vayaguz et rosha achinami. He also did it in his hair. So they said, Ela me'acha vayakom hamelech vayikra et bgadav. So they said that the king stood up, and King David in the book of Samuel chapter 13, and he tore his garment. V'dilma milta yeterat ha'avid. Dilo tema'achi vayishkav arza achenami. So in my book on Rashi, Rashi said, כאין ארצה, כלומר שכפה מיטתו וישב עליה, והוא לעולם קריאה מעומד. So, in short, what Rashi said, that that's really דיני אבלות. That's the way it should be. Need to stand. דעתניא, ישן על גבי מיטה, על גבי כיסא, על גבי יודיאני, גדולה מכולם, על גבי קרקע, לא יצא ידי חובתו. So again, in other words, it's act of mourning has to be the least convenience. ואמר רבי יוחנן שלא קיים כפיית המיטה, as we said yesterday, that the requirement is to turn the garment, so that's part of turning around the bed. אמר לי כאין ארצה, it's like, תנו רבנן, אלו דברים שווה לסור בהם. These are the list of things that a mourner prohibited. Number one, אסור במלאכה, he cannot involve with work, וברחיצה או bedding, ובשיחה או anointing, ובתשמיש המיטה intercourse, ובנדילת הסנדל wearing a sandal, a shoe made out of leather, ואסור לקרוא בתורה ובנביאים מכתובים לשלום במשנה, במדרש, בהלכות ובתלמוד ובאגדות, the same as תשעה באב. All this enjoyment of study Torah itself, אם היו רבים צריכים לו, if it's a great scholar that people needs to teach. So, as we said, in Tisha B'Av, a person can study those sad books, Jeremiah, Job, etc. But if they need it, for example, Isu Veheter, More or someone who's very erudite in Halacha, Enonimna, he cannot avoid it. ומעשה עומד בנו של רבי יוסי בציפורי, ונכנס לבית מדרש ודרש כל היום כולו. Even he lost his son, טפו, he still did, he is teaching. רבא בר חנא התרא במילתא, which means he turned to be mourner. עבר דלו מפק לפירקה. So, because the mourner not do study Torah, so you figure out, I shouldn't bother. אמר לרבי חנינא, אם היו רבים צריכים לו, לא נמנע. People need you to teach, you have to do it. סבר לו עוק מהמורה עלי. He thought to take someone to translate it. אמר לרב תניא, ובלבד שלא יעמיד מתורגמן. You can teach, but not bring a translator. So, Rabbi Dr explains that that's to show people that he is in an act of mourning, meaning you make it a little different than usual. ואלה איך יעביד, כי היה לתניא, מעשה עומד בנו של רבי יהודה בר אילוי, ונכנס לבית המדרש, ונכנס רבי חנינא בן עקיבא וישב בצידו. ולחש לרבי חנינא בן עקיבא ורבי חנינא בן עקיבא לתורגמן, ותורגמן השמיע על הרבים. So here it's not direct with the translator, he did it whisper to the other, and the other to the translator, and translator teach the Bible. So people realize his state. Now, as far as the putting tefillin, we learned it, if you remember, several days ago from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 24. So, said Tanu Rabban, אבל 3 ימים ראשונים אסור להניח תפילין. First 3 days you not put tefillin. מיום שלישי ואילך ושלישי בכלל מותר להניח תפילין. So The third day, he holds that it's only part of the time, not entirely. That's the way Rashi and Tosfot. So it means, according to Rabbi Lazar, the mourner allowed to put tefillin right after the nets of the third day. Anyway, ואם באו פנים חדשות, if there are new people come and visit him that didn't come in the first 2 days of the Shiva, אינו חולץ, דברי רבי אליעזר, not take off תפילין. רבי יהושע אומר, אבל שניהם וראשונים אסור להניח תפילין, יום שני ושני בכלל מותר להניח תפילין, ואם באו פנים חדשות חולץ. So you take off. Just the other way, and it's only 2. אמר רב מתנה, מה איתם עד רבי אליעזר? דכתיב ויתמו ימי וכי אבל משה. They say in Deuteronomy 34 that ימי, which means that it's the first 2 days. Yom, 1 day, yemei 2. So therefore, that's the idea of the sages prohibited up to the 3rd day. אמר רב עינא מה איתם עד רבי יהושע? דכתיב, they said in the book of Amos, chapter 8, ואחריתיה כיום מר. Which means that the only first day and the second day it's already allowed to put the tefillin. רבי יהושע למה הכתיב ויתמו ימי? אמר לך שאני משה דתקיף ובלי. The Moshe Rabbeinu, we cannot compare that. That's much more. רבי אליעזר נמי הדכתיב ואחידה כיומר. So he said עיקר מרירה חד יומר. The first days, that's the most embittered times, but the essence of the morning exceeded for the second day as well. אמר רב אולה הלכה כרבי אליעזר בחליצה והלכה כרבי יהושע בהנחה. So הלכה כרבי אליעזר, when it's come to חליצה, that he's not taking off, even if פנים חדשות, הלכה כרבי יהושע, that he allowed to put the tefillin in the second day. בא אלו בשני לאולה חולץ או אינו חולץ? The second day. Because the question is, יהיה פנים חדשות, דתשמע לאמר אולה חולץ ומניח אפילו 100 פעמים. So he can do it even 100 times, meaning when the panim chadashot enters, he can redo it every time. So that's not the 3rd day. So it means the second one. תנא מאח יהודה בן תימא אומר חולץ ומניח אפילו 100 פעמים. רבא אמר כיוון שניח שוב אינו חולץ. So in other words, if he put it the second day, so therefore he cannot take it off. Even if you have panim chadashot. והרב אהודה אמר הלכה כתנא דידן, דאמר 3. We just said that הלכה is, according to our Tana, it has to be 3 days. So the Gemara said, you know what? Mitzvah shani. It's a mitzvah is different. And since it is a mitzvah to put a tefillin, the mourner is required to do so even during the first 3 days. So Rashi here said, כלומר, הואילו מצווה להניח תפילין, מה צריך להניח לאלתר? So, בשני. So, here in my book I explained that since tefillin is the biblical, so it's override the Isur Abelut, that it's only Divay Sofim, so rabbis. But here, I think Rashi meant there is difference between lechatchila and b'diavad. תנו רבנן, אבל 3 ימים ראשונים עשו במלאכה, cannot involve with war. ואפילו על עניין מצפרנס מן הצדקה, even the poor person that he live by the charity fund. מכאן ואילך עושה בצינה בתוך ביתו. He can do in a private some type of work, באישה טובה בפלך בתוך ביתה. And a woman can do on a spindle on her own house when she is mourning. תנו רבנן אבל ב3 ימים ראשונים, אינו הולך לבית האבל, מכאן ואילך הולך. So in order to comfort others. ואינו יושב במקום מנחמים למקום מתנחמים. So he's not sitting with all those people who give comfort, he's sitting with the people that receive comfort, because he himself is a mourner. תנו רבנן אבל 3 ימים ראשונים עשו בשלת שלום, מ3 ועד 7 משיב. ואינו שואל, מכאן ואילך 3 משיב כדרכו. So he'll differentiate between the first 3 days, which means he cannot either accept or greet shalom. From the 3rd to the 7th, he responds but not ask. And after the 7th, he can do both ways. 3 ימים ראשונים עשו בשלת שלום והתניא. מעשה עומד בניו של רבי עקיבא, ונכנסו כל חכמי ישראל והספילו מספל גדול. טפו טפו, שתי גדחת, the sons of Rabbi Akiva. There are some say that it's only one son, but anyway, here it appears more than one, because it's written banav. So everyone went there and gave the word of comfort. בשעת פטירתם עד רבי קירא ספסל גדול ואמר, אחינו בני ישראל שימו, listen my brethren, אפילו 2 בנים חתנים, מנוחתם הוא בשביל כבוד שעשיתם. So the rest because you give so much honor to them. And he said, ואם בשביל עקיבא באתם, הרי כמה עקיבא בשוק. If you come for me, there are many עקיבא that you don't bother to go and give a comfort. אלא כך אמרתם, תורת אלוקיו בליבו. So they basically honored the Torah that he had. וכל שכן ששכרכם כפול, לכו לבדכם לשלום. So you have a double reward because you come not from me, you come from the honor of the Torah. So it means that Rabbi Akiva used the word shalom, even it was the first day of the Shiva, right after the day burial. So said Kvod Rabbi Shani, again, respect for the public, it's different. משלושה ועד שבעה משיב ואינו שואל, מכאן ואילך שואל ומשיב כדרכו. So from the 7 it can go both ways. ורמינו המוצא את חברו אבל בתוך 30 יום מדבר עם התנחומים ואינו שואל בשלומו, during the 30 days. אחר 30 יום שואל בשלומו ואינו מדבר עם התנחומים. מתה אשתו ונשא אישה אחרת. If he married another woman, so she passed, ואינו רשאי להיכנס לדבר עמו תנחומים, even during the 30 days period. Why? Because the second wife will be unhappy. מצאו בשוק, if he saw the new wife, אומר לו תתנחם בשפה רפה ובקול ראש, said it in a soft way. אמר רב עדי ברבין, הוא שואל בשלום אחרים, שאחרים שרויים בשלום. He can do that. So they said, רש"י said, כלומר תריצה נתן מכאן ואילך שואל כדרכו בתוך 30 יום. So it means, רבי עדי ברבין reconciled the contradiction in the Brighthood, because here there is a difference between he asking others versus others agreed him. אחרים נשארים בשלומו, שכן הוא אינו שואל בשלום, since he doesn't have peace in mind now. So they said, מדקתני משיב, מכאן דשאלינה, it means that he answer, otherwise why do I use the term he responds? He said the answer is the lo yade. So Rashi here said that כלומר, הדתני, דמחשיב לשלב ולא ידיל דאבלו. So it means that they don't realize that he is a mourner, so then they ask him a question. So therefore he answered them because they don't know his situation. יחי אתם נעמי, אתם מודר לו ולא מדר לו, אך לא צריך להודנו. והאמינו, המוצא את חברו אבל בתוך 12 חודש, מדבר עם התנחומים ולא שואל בשלומו. If it's doing the 12 months. אחר 12 חודש שואל בשלומו ולא מדבר את התנחומים. אבל מדבר עמו מן הצד. Which means he give him comfort. אמר רבי מאיר, הוא מוצא חברו אבל לאחר 12 חודש שמדבר עמו בתנחומים, ומה הוא דומה לאדם שברא לו רגלו וחייתה. מצא הרופא אמר לו, קלח אצלי שאני שוברה והרפאנה כדי שתדע סמנים שלי יפים. Right? So it's basically the other it's already healed. Lokashia, Havivimo, Avesharkovim. Here we differentiate between parents to others. Hatamnami daberit numot nachumim min hatzad. So here again, he does it, speak indirectly. He may say to him, may you consult without mentioning the name of the deceased. Shulchan Aruch Yerodea 340. Kri'ah. Rendering the garments as a sign of mourning must be done while standing. If one performed this while sitting, he is required to rend the garment a second time. Also, as far as study Torah, so that's Yerodea 384. The mourner is prohibited from study Torah for all 7 days of the mourning period, but he may read the Book of Lamentations, prophecies about catastrophic event and the halachot, mourning. If the community requires it, a mourner is permitted to expound in public. However, if he expounds to an interpreter, then there must be an intermediary between him and the interpreter. That's the sort we see earlier. How about putting tefillin? A mourner, it's 388 in the Yerodea. A mourner is prohibited for wearing tefillin on the first day of mourning, but he's required to have tefillin from the second day. That's basically the viewpoint of the Rema. He cannot do work, and a mourner during the first 3 days of mourning may not attend a funeral until there is no one else who can appropriately accompany the deceased or bury him. That's the whole idea of also Shilat Shalom. And the last halacha is Nichum Amelim Lachar Shiva. How you comfort a mourner if it's past the Shiva. One who meets a mourner within the last 30 days period of mourning should speak words of consolation to him and should not extend greetings. After 30 days he may extend greetings toward him, but he may not speak words of consolation to him explicitly. However, he may say, "You shall be consoled," without mentioning the name of the deceased. If man's wife passed away and he married another woman, one should not enter his house to consult him. If he finds him on the street, then he may say in an undertone, "You shall be consoled." If he did not marry another wife, then one may console him until 3 pilgrim festivals have passed. That's the Yoredea 385. One may speak words of consolation to a mourner whose father or mother has passed away within last 12 months, and afterward he may console him without mentioning the name of the deceased.
ויחם לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי